Guests are already seated. The Statesman starts this morning and says Energy Ministry probes bust over contaminated fuel saga. We'll talk about that. Daily Guide has the same story. Government probes bust dirty oil deal, and scandal rocks MPs over Lotto cash. The Business Finder says IMF deal extension could spell doom for government's ambitious initiatives. This is from some economists who have commented on the deal's extension. Daily Graphic, 21 charged with killing the chief of Adema and no contaminated fuel on market. NPA was told also by Daily Graphic that 3 arrested for evading tax on diesel. The BNFT says EIPC records $3 billion worth of projects in first quarter, and NPA to take legal action against Moving Pina and Zoop Oil. The boss story, Ghanaian Times has the same story on its front page and says the committee is ready to begin work. These are some of the newspapers we have this morning. My guest to do the talking, Joe Jackson, is from Daily Finance. So good morning once again.
Good morning.
Grateful for your time.
Yes.
Hope you're doing good.
It's a good day to be alive.
Great. Thanks so much. And then Kojo Poku is an energy analyst and also with me here. Good morning, Kojo.
Hi, good morning, Bright.
You're good.
Looks like this your tie. Do you have like a selection of it, or a wide selection?
No, it is, in fact, a wide selection.
That's good.
Yes.
Does it come from a single source?
It comes from a single source.
And do you have shares in that?
No, I don't have. DK Clothing is at Adenta. They provide these for me.
Okay.
Very nice.
Soul sourcing.
Good morning once again. Mr. David Wako is the group president of. I am lost. I'm lost when it comes to soul sourcing. World Vision Financial Services Limited. Mr. Wako, good morning too.
Good morning.
And thanks so much for your time once again. All right, so let's start with this morning. I want us to tackle this story first on the Finder, Business Finder this morning. The story says that the extension of Ghana's program with the IMF could spell doom for government's ambitious initiatives. This is according to some economists. Now, they maintain that government's hands could be tied since its spending will now be subject to the fund's scrutiny. The fund would want assurances that all the ambitious programs will not jeopardize the attainment of the ultimate objectives of the program. One economist told the Finder. The story continues on page 3 and says that the name of the program the aims, among others, are to continue to cut the deficit and to bring down the debt to a more sustainable level. The fund, we're told, will resolutely ensure they are not jeopardized. And that's the worry of some economists. Dr. Joabe is one of them. He says that it will be in the interest of government to extend the program because of the signals it will send to investors about government's commitment to stick to fiscal consolidation measures. And but some have said that if government goes ahead, it could affect its ambitious program. Mr. Jackson, let's start with you. So, go ahead and not to go ahead. If you go ahead, perhaps some of the beautiful ideas you have could be jeopardized. Others said that, well, if you don't do it, you send a signal that is not too good to the investor community either. So we are in a very sticky situation. Is that what you see too?
I actually don't see it. Whatever plan you have, it must be grounded in reality. You can't have ambitious plans when you don't have money in your pocket. If I wake up in the morning, I can only decide that maybe I have some money in my pocket, so this morning I'm going to have a meal of wache. If I don't have money, I buy some cocoa and I sit in my corner. The IMF is good. The program is good simply because it will restrain us from the excesses of the past. I mean, if we have money to achieve the plans, we should go ahead. If there's no money, rein it in. For me, it makes far more sense for us to rein in the fiscal deficit, bring the economy into a sounder footing. That makes more sense than achieving ambitious programs in the next whatever, in the short term, and then coming back another few years from now with our hand in our mouth again, going through all this amount of pain. This country is too important to be subject to just any ambitious plan, however good the plan is.
So we shelve it now. That's what you're saying.
I'm not saying shelve the plans. I'm saying that.
But how do
the
IMF won't allow us to?
No, the IMF isn't saying that it won't allow you. It just says that make sure that you have the money to do it. I'll give you an example. Right now, as we sit, we've heard of the government leveraging some amount, some of our bauxite, or proposing to. They call it leveraging, so I'll call it the same thing. Right. Leverage our bauxite deposits to bring in some money. Well, the IMF is not going to tell you, or shouldn't tell you, that don't bring in the money from China. Because that money, if it is right, it's not going to, it's not a direct debt. It is more like a forward sale of our bauxite resources. And it's all private sector driven, so it may not add to our sovereign debt. So that's fine. But the point is that if you want to do your programs, find innovative ways of funding the programs. Don't just go to the Eurobond, go and take a loan, come and throw it at these projects. Because that's a one-way road to disaster.
I see.
Our debt levels are unsustainable in the long term. And we have to do something about it. If anybody thinks that our debt levels are fine, they should go and look at Greece. They should ask how much pain the Greeks are going through. And let me tell you, it is not beyond the realm of possibility in Ghana.
Mr. Jackson, so as long as we can find the money, we can work within the ambit of the IMF team.
Thank you.
And so do our projects.
Find the money.
But can we find the money?
Well, the latest Chinese deal shows that if we we can find some money. Listen, you see, it's not surprising that the deal came from China, because every time there are opportunities everywhere. The withdrawal of the U.S. in this Trump regime, and withdrawal means that China thinks there's time for it to come in. We've got to examine, of course, the small print. But it's an opportunity to find new ways of funding, new sets of investors, new ways of doing things. We can't do it the same old way. Go to Eurobond, raise 2 billion, come, throw it at projects with dubious return on capital, with dubious, what do you call it, overinflated prices, etc. No, we can't do that. Find more innovative ways of funding your projects.
I see. So the IMF won't stop you from your beautiful projects. No. But you need money to do it.
But isn't that what it's about? You know, we make it look like that is not what it's about. That is what it's about. President Mahama told us, run the country like you run your household. You wake up in the morning, like my brother said, you have money for wachi, you buy wachi. You don't have money for wachi, you buy Kofi Brookman. That is what life is about. That is how a country should be run. It's unfortunate that politicians make all these promises to the electorate, and they feel that within 4 years, they have to deliver. I believe that Nana Ado's legacy should not be seen on trying to do grandiose projects. But even if it cost him the 2020 election, but he was able to rein in the country to sound footing, for whoever comes after him.
Economic sound footing.
No, sorry, economic sound footing, yes. And whoever comes after him takes it from there. He can take credit. Look, I'm the guy that came in and achieved these fiscal policies. You might not be able to point to Dubai in Accra. He might not be able to do a green book to show all the fine projects. But economists and Ghanaians will be thanking for it, because we will have a stable economy, we will have a stable currency. Traders will be able to go, project, and trade. That is what it's about. Finding money for projects we can't afford. It's not how to run a country. In the past, we've been told that, people have said they don't want to sound like they know about economics. But running an economy is economics.
I see.
So you cannot run a country and sound like you can. Look, the Chinese deal, I have said that, look, what this thing should have been made public by the business community that went. You see, a lot of people, government try to take credit for certain things. Dr. Bawumia took businessmen to China. There were transactions. Look, if you go to China and you want 1 trillion, they will promise you 1 trillion. In His Excellency Atamil's time, they promised us 3 billion. How much did we get? Just under 800 million for Ghana gas. That's the only money we got. Because the Chinese have a very stringent way of disbursement. I can talk to my brother here on the side talk and see if Dalex will give me money. As we sit here, Joe will tell me, oh, Kojo, 100,000 is a problem. Come to Dalex. When I go to Dalex, he'll give me his checklist. And I know Joe for a very long time. He's not going to skip any checklist because he knows me. Because the risk has to be averted. So you have to tick all the boxes before the money is given. So the fact that the vice president went, ceremonies were there, and for the grandiose, 15 billion was promised. It doesn't mean that there's going to be a helicopter of 15 billion to bring the money for us tomorrow. We have to present feasibility, potent projects for the Chinese to tick every box. It is not easy to draw down on Chinese finance. Ghanaians should understand that. It's the most difficult people to deal with to draw down on their finance because they are very stringent and very shrewd. So it is good for us to think that we can do projects. If they think that it is private sector driven, bauxite, aluminium, iron, or whatever it is, they think it's good for them to leverage the finance on, they will give the money, but they have to be satisfied. For government, GOG financing, if we do not receive it in revenue, we can't spend it.
I see.
And so far, we've about some 1.4 billion for the first 4 months short in revenue. So it means that government cannot spend the money. We don't have it.
And you don't think that the electorate then won't push government into these very projects that perhaps GOG funding that will cause the IMF to say, hey, put the brakes on what you're doing because you're overspending?
Well, yeah,
because
government
like
money.
Mr. Joe Jackson would say, inflation and the GDP and the rest do not matter to the ordinary person.
No, it doesn't matter to the ordinary person because it doesn't put money in his pocket. But at the same time, if you go ahead and do projects you can't afford, in the long run, you don't put money in the person's pocket anyway. So you have to weigh the balance.
It doesn't provide them the jobs that they need.
What job? I've always said that.
One district, one factory.
Always said, yes, but one district, one factory.
If government decide to fund it, I mean,
yes, but one district, one factory is a PPP.
Right.
It's private public partnership, where government is doing up to only 30%. And that 30%, if you are able to monitor the project and it's a profitable venture, if government put 30% in that factory, you can get that money back. It's not a dash. Social infrastructure, you see, we should always differentiate social infrastructure, which does not have returns. Water, electricity, sanitation, and those things. Those ones, you cannot get it back. It's something you do for your populace. But they are profitable ventures. This government, from what I know, is not prepared to borrow for profitable ventures that private partnership can undertake, like energy and all those areas. But in sanitation, water, nobody will lend you 15 years money to go and do water treatment plant. So government has to find the money. And in our budget, there is some money that government can find. Just that what we are saying is that you cannot go and build an unnecessary overhead in Kaswa, which does not solve a problem.
I see. Mr. Waku, so the extension is being agreed on, at least for now. But the difficulty is that well, the IMF is watching closely. If you extend, good news, but your programs can be affected because we won't let you overspend. On the other side, if we decide to get out of it, then we are not credible on the international market. But where do you stand?
My position is a bit dicey. First, my worry is must we always have IMF to be able to do prudent spending or whatever? Extension is not forever. One day IMF will leave.
Yeah, we're told December 2018.
Yes, so does it mean after they left, we cannot manage our fiscal disciplines? It is important to know that as a country, and this extension, I believe, is granted by government. So all negotiations have been made, they've agreed, they have seen their projects or program before agreeing to extend it. I want to believe that having an ambitious agenda or project, it is not wrong by itself, but how you execute it. What is the value for money? What is the outcome? A government thinking of creating more jobs. The economic important is that after the jobs are created, and people are employed. It's going to expand the economy. Tax is going to increase, productivity will increase, people will get jobs, and the economy will be growing. The problem we have is not about the ambition projects. It's about how they are executed. What returns do we get on them? Every country in development, at a point, go by ambitious projects to be able to develop or expand. It is about how these things are done. How were they monitored? My brother talked about social interventions and the social projects. I believe if you have good water, you're going to increase your health, the health of your people, which is going to reduce the medical bill and so many things. If you have good roads, you are going to improve on your transportation channels and productivity, and everything is enhanced. So it is important. Sometimes I'm speaking advisably. We really see politicians like they are just spending offices, or all projects they come out with are unnecessary or whatever. But when you also go down and see how people, average people, suffer to get to their homes, even in Adenta here, I passed some places the last time. I wonder how people survive when it rains in those places. I was passing one of the roads. I couldn't continue, even though I was using a very big car. So the question I ask is, people who have car to go to their homes and it rains, how do they are also Ghanaians. Their roads need to be fixed. So do we say that because of IMF, we should not do those things, or we should not do some other projects? Let's look at it. We should come to ourselves. Those who have opportunity to serve in public offices or in places of decision making, we should do things right. So we don't wait for IMF to extend programs to get the value for whatever we need to do and develop as a country. So for me, the extension or non-extension, we should really think as real people who want to do something for the future of this country.
We should think home. Yes. That's what you're suggesting.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay. Let's move on to this story. Quite getting a lot of commentary there. Daily Graphic has one of them. No contaminated fuel on market. That's according to NPA. The Ghanaian Times says 8-man committee to probe bust. The same issue of the contaminated oil saga. And then Daily Guide has the same story, talking about the committee. Could you, at least the assurances are very good. There is no contaminated fuel on the Ghanaian market. That's from the NPA. The 8-man committee to probe bust. Will it find a solution to the problems?
You wouldn't find a solution to the problem. They would recommend some solutions, and they would also now come out with a report that most of these alleged situations, they would have access to the documentation and access to the processes. So most of these things that we are talking about as alleged, they will be able to come out and give us some facts to the story. Look, on one thing I want to say, and it's yesterday, I on my own probably spoke to about 10 radio stations. And at the end of the day, I got a bit upset because some people will call you and they want you to say certain things to their hearing. But you see, I'm not a politician. People, when you call me Kojupuku, an energy analyst, who's somebody in the industry, you are not calling a politician. Right. I will give you the facts as I know it and how the industry works. I will not conjecture. I will not say things I don't know. And I'm not a politician, so I'm not going to point fingers. I cannot blame the MD for anything because I don't know what he's done. What we know for a fact is that there is no contaminated product on the market, because to you to get contaminated fuel onto the forecourt, an OMC, either Shell, Total, or Nasona, or any of the OMCs, has to collude with these guys to have bought the fuel and sell it, which we all know from all checks. It is not true. So when people are making this bold statement that they know where it is, then go and show MPA where it is. Because for some of us, MPA has come to verify what we said, that from the way the industry works and the way we know the industry, it is not possible to just easily take fuels and take it to the forecourt to be sold. And some people are not happy with that. They want you to point fingers. But, I mean, let's move on from that and let me address what you asked. The 8-member committee are made up of who? Are made up of the BNI, Ghana Standard Board, TOR, the BBC, MPA, and it's all for a reason. Everybody will bring their knowledge, what happened. They are supposed to now find out exactly what happened. Could the approach which the management took, was it the right approach? Could it have been blended as the minority in parliament is suggesting that it could have been blended? From what I have been told, yes, you can blend it, but it will take you a longer time because you have 5 million liters of contaminated fuel. You can use only so much of it at a time to blend with other products. So you have to do it in batches. And from what I know, it's going to take a much longer time. And they wanted the space. But you see, that is where my other problem comes in. If you wanted the space and you are selling it to get the space, won't you sell it to somebody who has capacity to remove it from your tanks? You now go and sell it to Movipina and Zuboil, who do not have any capacity to store the product. So the argument of you wanting the space, that is why you are selling it to somebody, and you sell it to somebody who doesn't have the space. 5 million liters of fuel. A tanker is about 45,000 liters. Okay? Those small tankers are 45,000 liters. So you need over 100 of those tankers to remove a 5 million liters of fuel. So it's not a small amount of fuel we are talking about. So it is the whole he say, she say. I called to make my checks. I was told from boss that, only 2 trucks left, 100,000 liters. Only for us to find out that it's not true. Because Zub Oil saying they've received more than 200,000, and we are now hearing that it's 40. So the investigation which the committee will come out with would be what will set everybody, the public and some of us, mind at ease, so we can get to the bottom of it.
I see. Before I go to Mr. Jackson, you said that in the industry, it's not possible to get contaminated fuel to be sold to consumers. But is it possible to move contaminated fuel from bust? And what reasons can you move them?
Okay, you see, there are players in the industry. There are the OTCs, oil trading companies. There are BDCs, bulk distribution companies, and there are the OMCs. The OMCs, the oil marketing companies, are the ones with the forecourts.
Right.
Nobody in Ghana now, maybe 1%, still go to Gao Gao. Right. Everybody goes to a forecourt, which it's whether allied or whatever. They buy their fuel from a BDC.
Right.
They don't buy from Mr. Joe Jackson, who will call his friend and say, I have some tankers, so will you buy? They don't do that.
Okay.
So if you have contaminated fuel from Bust, you have to approach one of the existing players
to get it,
to be able to sell it. And from what we are told, Zub Oil and Movipina are not registered by MPA. So they cannot trade in those things. So if they do, then there's a criminal intent to do so.
So you're faulting the movement of the oil from Bust?
Well, we are all faulting the movement of the oil from Bust because what they said was that it was being sold to the industry. If you are selling something to the industry, it means that you're going to maybe steal in a steel company in Tema who says, I'll buy it for my boilers, for my machines. So when you move it from Bust, where does it go? It goes to the steel company.
To the steel company.
So if you're moving it to Zub Oil, and Zub Oil, I'm told, doesn't even have the capacity to store all those things. So you moving it, why are you taking it to? That is where the problem is. But my point is that what we need to assure the public is that there is no contaminated fuel in the forecourt. And it's very important the public knows that.
Okay, at the filling stations.
At the filling stations, yes.
Okay, all right. Mr. Jackson, you do a lot of business there. Would you deal with a company that you know is not legally registered?
You know, forgive me, right? But this issue stinks to high heaven.
Yeah.
It stinks to high heaven, and there's no way you can hide it. Listen, first of all, someone puts petrol into a tank that has diesel. You've got to ask yourself, are you stupid? What is your job?
Could it have been a mistake?
Well, mistake? Well, forgive me.
Automobile companies record their cars all the time.
If I make a 5 million liter can of mistake in my office, I'll be down on my ass in my home before you can say jack. If you like, destroy some of your panels here, less than 5 million, see whether you'll be sitting here tomorrow. 5 million liters worth of mistake, what are we talking about? 2, good, there's contaminated fuel. Where was the NPA in this process? NPA regulates the quality of the fuel we get. You have made a mistake, you go to the NPA, you say, hey, I've made this mistake. You have 3 choices. You can sink it back to TOR and ask it to be refined.
They're blending.
Because TOR is not working, so that's not an option. You can blend it like he's saying. You say you don't have the empty spaces to do the blending all the time. Good. Your last option is to sell. And if you're going to sell, NPA must be part of the process to ensure that this does not go to the wrong place. You don't call NPA. You sign an agreement with a company that is not yet registered. In fact, it was registered before the delivery. These companies you sold to don't have licenses to deal in the product, whether contaminated or not, from the NPA. So what are we talking about here? Well, it doesn't make sense to me. What the NPA has done is take preemptive action because of their tracking system, find out where these trucks went, go on to seal it and assure us that, hey, guys, even though I wasn't part of the process, I'm doing my work and I'm making sure it does not get to the market. We should say, NPA, well done. But we should go back to BOST and ask them, how did the mistake occur?
Right.
5 million liters worth of mistake, and if you were seeking the space, like Kojo says, why are you giving it to these people who are not licensed? So how are they going to sell it? It stinks to high heaven. All sorts of rumors are flying around. Me, I don't have any evidence, so I cannot repeat them or say, but I definitely say there's a lot of smoke, and we've got to find the fire. And listen, you see, let's not turn this into an argument of whether the NPA moved fast enough to stop the contaminated fuel on getting to the market or not. Well done. They reacted promptly. We are happy they're doing what they're supposed to do. But there are some basic questions we should ask. Who caused the mistake?
What happened to him?
Well, yeah, they've been sanctioned. That's according to the...
what kind of sanctions? 5 million liters? It's not a jerry can. It's not a jerry can. 5 million liters worth of mistake. Who caused it? When was this mistake done? Because we know about when the sale and the agreements were done. When was this mistake done? We are only, was it in the previous regime? Is it in this regime? Still murky. Right? There are all sorts of rumors going on. Sometimes these mistakes are, when I was younger, I was privileged to watch Asiedu-Dartey, and he used to say, accident according to plan. Was it an accident according to plan? I don't know. All I know is that 5 million is a big accident.
Yes.
Any other industry, a 5 million liter incident would be reported widely. The regulator will be brought in. We will make sure that this does not. Listen, when you deal with fuel, how do you dispose of it? There are lots of issues. Fuel is not water. Please, the matter stinks.
Mr. Waku, so the 8-member committee, like Kojo is suggesting, I mean, the mandate is to recommend to the Energy Ministry. But some have said that the minister superintends over that institution, and so he could take some immediate actions even before the committee begins its work, because the concerns are that, one, those who would appear before the committee could be intimidated by the fact that they know the person who sits at the top of BOST is still in office. Is that a legitimate thing to be asking the minister to do? Get the man out of office first?
I think to the magnitude we are talking about, it is important people who have capacity to conceal information or control some significant part of this investigation could be asked to maybe give away or allow the committee to do their work, if as we are saying, and we need to also check, like we are saying, we don't know the exact time this thing happened. What actually make this issue comes out now? What brought it out? So the committee has a good work to do. If, like we are saying, I don't know whether this committee is going to just account to the minister, then because all these things we are talking about, there could be a
intent.
BNI is part of the committee.
Yeah,
yes.
committee. Oh.
So is the report going back to the minister, or who actually is asking for this report? So this issue, technically, I believe my two brothers have spoken about a lot of things, especially talking about even the companies involved and the issues surrounding this discussion started the whole week, and we heard comments like if a promoter has an intent, you could go into a transaction. I don't know.
Inauguration, registration, contract,
and all kind of this thing without licensing. You go into this kind of arrangement, tracing telephone numbers to some offices. I mean, close to this
transaction. Right.
we
I want to make a little contribution.
All right, I come to you. Sometimes work has landed.
Yeah, we really have to look beyond just the media talks as we are doing. My brother spoke to about 10 radio stations. Is it bringing solution to this issue? Is it going to stop? Is it the first time issues like this happen? How was it treated? We've never discussed this like it's being discussed today. So it's important the committee does a good job to bring this matter to a very concluded end.
All right. I'm grateful. Yeah, Mr. Jackson, you wanted to come.
You know, I worry about the sequence of events. First, the head of BOST comes to make some very serious allegations against the previous head. Allegations bordering on horrendous, criminal, fraudulent financial malpractice. These allegations are going on, right? The next thing, a day or so later, now there's this whole issue now of
Contaminated fuel.
Contaminated fuel, and don't mind this new boss. He too, he's chopping some. I beg, boss is for us. This is our country. Extend it so that we can know whether it's previous regime or current regime or whoever is chopping. Is our money. It's for all of us. This, you know, because now all of a sudden we're wondering, is it because somebody's allegations came up that somebody else is throwing mud? Right. Please, it's our money.
And that is
extend the inquiry,
whatever investigation.
Not just to.
But we're told that one against the MD is already under investigation. Is that what we're told?
Me, I don't know. All I know is that allegations have been made, counter allegations. Now they want to turn it into a political. Yes. It is not political. Yes. It is financial malpractice. If there are allegations, they should deal with it. This shouldn't just be a matter of we're now dealing with this issue of what do you call it? Contaminated. In any case, MP has stepped in. If we don't believe MP, then we might as well shut down shop and go home. MP has stepped in. Says the issue of contamination is not it's not going to hit the market. We've sealed the tanks and we'll decide how to dispose of or what solution we have. That's not the issue anymore. There are bigger issues at stake. And BOST seems to be, forgive me, a place where all manner of chop allegations are going on. Let's get to the bottom of it.
Well, let me give a bit of timeline to what Joe said. On Tuesday, because Monday was a holiday.
Right.
Yes. On Tuesday, when this issue of contaminated fuel came in, a BOST, for whatever reason, issued a press statement.
Right.
And the press statement they issued had a 5-pointer allegation of the former guy, Wadakun. And I was thinking, really? There's a problem that you've been accused of. This thing happened in early January, first week of January, around 7th, 9th January is when the contamination happened. Okay? Now, if Tuesday is when the new boss management accused of selling or doing a deal with a company that we are talking about. Why do you issue a press conference and the press statement that you release has allegation of your predecessor? For the past 6 months, have we heard boss release a statement of their predecessor? No. So why is it that when you are now talking about what you have done, that you now want to talk about what somebody else have done? Just to muddy the waters? It's not necessary.
It's not right.
It's not necessary.
Right. It's our money.
It's not necessary.
We treated with a little bit more.
And Mr. Jackson said that's our money, so we should look at the financial malpractice and not do the political game there. All right, let's move to Parliament. First, Mr. Joabi is suggesting, before we talk about what is said to have rocked Parliament, some members of a committee having agreed that, or having confirmed that they took some money. Dr. Joabi, pardon me, is suggesting that Parliament should scrutinize the 15 billion facility from China. The paper says loan here, but we're told it's not a loan. Now, he is saying that based on the fact that we could not get all the 3 billion China Development Bank loan, which was promised by the regime during the late Professor Mills's time, Parliament should go into this to make sure that we get exactly what China has pledged to Ghana. Mr. Waku, he might be alerting us on the right thing to do.
Yes, the alerting is good, but the question I want to ask is who is he electing? Is it Parliament?
Exactly. He's asking Parliament to scrutinize the facility and make sure that we get it based on the fact that we could not get the other 3 billion from China when it last promised us.
Yeah, I think Parliament gives approval before even the executive goes ahead to discuss or negotiate for whatever credit facility we are bringing. If the executive has gone ahead to negotiate, do arrangement, pledge some of our natural resources already, and these understandings have been reached, I really doesn't know what role Parliament is going to do again to ensure that this proposed money come. They could scrutinize, they could ask questions where necessary, but most of these things you see that it is most times the government or the executive that champions, that drives this, that makes sure whether it should come or not through the finance and then the various agencies that are involved. It is a good caution to us because even if it must come to do the intended purpose, because all the planning around the money most time has been made already. Some projects have been earmarked at these monies before they even go for the negotiation. And if it comes, whether it goes to do the right things, they are all already outlined. So it's a good advice. We can look at it. And the executive must really be much involved in understanding some of these things. And Parliament also do their own check and ensure that what they are supposed to do, they do it well. If this money must come, it must come to do the right thing for us.
Kojo, the concern, one of which is that we do not know the cost of this package to the Ghanaian economy. So Dr. Abe is saying that, right, so if Parliament sits down, does the scrutiny, then the public will get to know that this is how much this facility
is Dr. Abe a parliamentarian?
He's not.
Oh, okay.
He's not.
You see, the issue I have is that when people are part of day-to-day business transactions, if people are part of trying to get money for industries, if people are running finance capital, like Joe is running Dalex and I'm running one institution involved in debt and equity restructuring, you know that it is not that easy and simple to get disbursement. So Parliament should not worry themselves because the laws are clear. if the Chinese want sovereign guarantee for some of these money, even if they want a sovereign guarantee for $1, the agreement has to be laid in front of Parliament. And they will scrutinize it. And if they want to do their work, which in the past they've not done, they would look at the fine print and scrutinize it and approve it if they may. But if it's a private venture where government is linking up maybe a mining company in Ghana with an industrial company in China to do that transaction, then it is out of the purview of Parliament. When people, you see, Dr. Bawumia came and said he struck a deal. What has he struck? It's an MOU, Memorandum of Understanding. You came to China, you presented your intent of projects to us. We've looked at it. We are happy to be partner the government and invest. That's where it ends.
It should end there?
But I'm saying that is where it ends.
Okay.
You sign an MOU for that. Don't come and trumpet it as an achievement, because it's not. Parliament should not be in a hurry that they are going to scrutinize, because there's nothing. Let's not waste our time.
I'll put the same question to Mr. Jackson, but there is that concern that some have said it will add to the public debt, but we are told it will not. Since Parliament represents the people, shouldn't they scrutinize it?
And
let the people
but there's
know.
nothing. What are we scrutinizing? It's an MOU.
I see.
Right.
It's nothing.
Let Mr. Jackson come.
Right, it's very simple. Our vice president went to China, came back and said, I've got deals worth 15 billion. Listen, a deal worth 15 billion is an agreement between us that we are interested in projects and we have values of up to 15 billion. Nobody has signed a loan agreement between Ghana and China. If there's a loan agreement to be signed, it has to go to Parliament. Parliament has to look at the details.
Right.
As we said, I'm not sure we even know, at least I don't know the details of how much for this project, what for this project, which one is private sector, which one is, I only know that there's an amount of 2 billion being bandied around as the remnant of the previous deal that is to be released. The balance between that 2 billion and the 15 billion, I'm not sure. I know that there are plans to forward sell some
Aluminium, bauxite, and all
other, so that the investments required can come in to open up these areas for factories to come in. So you need to build a railway line. Give me X amount of money through a private company to build a railway line. And when the railway line is opened up, we will sell them so much in bauxite to defray the cost. I'm not sure I understand exactly what it is in. If it's just sounding a warning to say, let us scrutinize those agreements, that's fair. But I'm not sure I really understand what he's saying. Parliament will only come in, or will come in when there's an agreement that commits this country to pay somebody. You are not allowed to do so. So, because listen, the president went to Germany. He came back with some
100 million euro.
100 million euro. I mean, it's the size of this deal that makes us start to ask questions. I know, for example, because I met some people who are part of a delegation, there's a Siemens team in town, and they're looking at power projects. Does that mean that it will only get to Parliament if they want our Ghana government to guarantee or to take some or to pay some money in future or whatever it is?
I see.
So this warning is okay, but it doesn't change anything.
For the bill, we use cocoa. For Ghana gas, we use our oil. And the cost of BU and the cost of Ghana gas is nothing compared to the 15 billion we're talking about. So what are we? And we know the Chinese. You see, we know the Chinese what they ask for when they come into town. We know what they ask for BU. They ask. We are still giving them our cocoa for BU.
I am
so what are we going to give for this money that, unless, like, if you read the fine print, what Dr. Bawumia said, he said that it is not your traditional G2G arrangement. It is a well-structured PPP transaction.
So we should not know what it means to us.
No, we know, but it is private business.
No, but that's what Dr. Abe is saying, that we should know the real cost to the Ghanaian economy of this deal.
Oh, that's when it happens.
That's
We will
fine.
know.
We will. But listen, the bulk of that delegation were private sector people who are going to look for deals, not the government. This is not like I've gone to the IMF
Yes.
and they've given me, they want to give me 15 billion. That's not the kind of transaction we're talking about. Should we scrutinize it? Everything should be scrutinized.
Right.
So it's fair warning. But I'm not going to beat my, and especially Parliament. Parliament only comes in to the extent that we are going to be committing ourselves
To the government, GOG is giving a sovereign guarantee.
Yes.
And like every people are saying, if you are to dump that 15 billion into our debt ratio to GDP, then people are talking about, do they know? But people seem to, you see, I think there's a rush to open mouth. There's a rush to make a contribution.
I'm trying to get back to our traditional settings where if the Busuapeni wants to use the family land for a project, he must let the Busuan people know. Isn't the same thing we're talking about? It is different.
All that has happened. So Busuapeni traveled to China, came back and said, you know that our land there, I hear there's some bauxite. Me and some Chinese people are talking. And we've signed an agreement that
They will come and have a look.
They will come and have a look.
Okay.
And they estimate that it could be 15 million cedis to put up a mine. Obusiapeni has to come. When finally the Chinese come in, and they come in with an agreement, Obusiapeni can't sign the agreement without consulting his elders.
Okay.
So when it's time, so all you are saying, hey, Obusiapeni yo, only China phobia because I can hear no ankoton yo.
All right. And finally, let's stay there in Parliament because, it's the paper said it's a scandal and that a former chairman of the committee, finance committee, James Aveji, has admitted his committee received money from officials of the NLA before deliberating on the amendment of the National Lottery Act 2006, Act 722. Now, some have said that this, were told by the paper that he received 50,000 cedis first, and then an additional 50,000 was to be added. Now, members of the committee are suggesting that the money was used for accommodation, per diem, sitting allowances, and all that when they went to Senchi to deliberate on the bill. Now, the CDD, another civil society organization, are suggesting that this is indeed what they want to refer to as bribery, because Parliament is seen to be doing that, and they made references to some other allegations against the House, and that Parliament should be careful about this. Now, Mr. Waku, now the committee members are saying that this is only something that facilitated a meeting and not bribery.
Why are you looking at me?
We should just take it and end the matter then.
What is good for the goose is good for the gander.
So that's what is good for the goose.
Let my brother speak. Let know why you're looking at me.
I will explain what is good for the
This is a Ghanaian society.
Yes.
They were attending a meeting. They would drive in their vehicles. They would sleep. And so the money was used in accommodation, seasonal allowances.
The money from where?
From the NLA.
NLA.
Is that what the law says?
Well, I don't know. But we're told the board approved 150,000 cedis for the finance committee.
The NLA board?
The board of NLA.
So my question is, Parliament, by Parliament procedure, if they are they are doing some work for an agency, is it the agency that finances?
No. No. The story says that the head of public affairs at Parliament, Kitado, said that MPs are not supposed to take money from any institution in facilitating the passage of any law. That's from Parliament.
You see, the biggest problem we have is these are the lawmakers. They know the laws that they make. They give it out for implementation. And we have, this is not the first time issue of bribery is hitting the Parliament. We have seen committees have been formed. People say they have evidence provided. Some say we received money. Some say we haven't given money. They've gone through all those things. Finally, we all see how that investigation and how Parliament and the whole thing, even if I'm not a lawmaker, I don't believe that's how we conclude on those matters. Okay. Here is a clear evidence. They accepted receiving and telling us exactly what they used the money for. There were other issues earlier on when a committee was investigating this power badge from Turkey. We were told they also received some money and it was meant for whatever, shopping or whatever. We don't know how all those cases end. So for me, this matter, how is it going to end? That is my question. Okay. If it's nothing to waste time on, we don't waste our time.
I don't want to say something that I will end up in a privileged committee of the Parliament.
Oh, why? You won't go.
I'm being very careful. I don't want to say anything that will end me in a privileged committee of Parliament. But if giving money by agencies to committee is not the norm, then there's a problem. If agencies giving money to committee to sit is not the norm, then there's a problem. If Parliament feels that based on budget given to them, agents or committees that are not well resourced, then they should amend their laws so that they can get assistance from agencies to do their work. Because if Parliament of all the hotels in the country want to go to Royal Senchi, which to me, I don't see why. They think that is where they can think far. That is where they can think better. They want to go there. I don't have a problem with it. Finance committee should be equipped to do their work. They should change the law which the lady just wrote, that it does not allow them to do that, because if they are handicapped, okay, and they cannot do the work, then they need the agency to help them to do the work. Because if they want to go to Takoradi or anywhere they want to go and sit and think far, and they think that Parliament cannot have that money, and they can get it from the agency, because those agencies have the money, like 100,000 from NLA to support the work of the committee. It's not a bad thing. But if Parliament feels that it is not right, and their standing orders does not allow them, then they should change the law to make it right. But if not, I don't want to say something that will land me.
I'm grateful. I'm running out of time. Mr. Jackson, please come in quickly, and then we'll get some text messages.
Very well. We are on a very slippery slope here. When you ask an interested party in the law being deliberated to fund the deliberation, we are on a very slippery slope. We're on a very slippery slope here. And consistently, we've had allegations from Parliament that there's a sense that people who are stakeholders in the deliberations are facilitating the deliberation. If we can condemn an investigative team that has to go to Dubai over the energy
Ameri
issue,
right,
then we have to condemn this one too. Right. What is good for the goose is good for the
Johnny Hughes has also joined us. Johnny, let's see some of the comments coming in.
Interesting, though, that is starting off with why arrears for 2015 batch of teachers haven't been paid, and they say they are suffering. We'll be picking their thoughts also on the National Science and Maths quiz, but congratulations to the contesting National Science and Maths schools. Thanks to the teachers. But remember that most districts in Ghana still lack teachers. You go to some schools and find 2 teachers handling class 1 to 6, while there are professional teachers from sandwich and distant education sitting at home. We members of the Unemployed Teachers Association are yearning to teach the future leaders. Therefore, the government of today must listen to our plea by lifting a ban on employment from Abu Isaac in Tamale. I wish, this is a happy birthday. We'll get back to it later. Now, even though the Black Stars lost to Mexico but played very well, I think that for the benefit of rebuilding a good team, let's encourage the team. Let's give the team more friendlies for a better Black Stars tomorrow. Chikapama is saying that. And, says, good morning. Post must be charged with the distribution of contaminated fuel. This is because this can cause damage to most car engines and is very, very harmful to the human society as well. Christian J.D.G. And finally, good morning, best team on morning TV. Please, I want you guys to look into this issue about tilapia imported from China, hybrids between tilapia and common carp, and is contaminated with a virus called virus hemorrhage species from Daniel in Ablekuma. Thank you. Daniel, we'll check out with this one quickly about that. But Bright, I think we should put the National Science and Maths Quiz final to our guests.
I'm supporting
where their biases
I'm supporting St. Aquinas, and I've told why I'm supporting Aquinas. I don't want people to do my ear in Kumasi, and I don't want a disco boys who are already loud to come and also make noise in my ears. St. Aquinas, I don't know anybody who goes there. So at least let them have something. So let them have something.
I see. All right. I'm sure the thrills will be
of course
on
absolutely.
today.
Thank you.
I'm sure